Hi everyone and welcome back to another video. In today's video you watch me read and kind of do a review on my thoughts of the Throne of Glass series. I read all of the series in May, the whole series in 1 month, which is surprising considering I'm not a big fantasy reader in the beginning, but I knew that if I didn't read it in Britain I would take forever to read it, and it's quite a long series and I knew I'd forget. It took me a year to read the Actor series. I only recently finished that and I started it in March of 2023, so I knew it was a good idea to try and do a read along in May, and it was a success. There was times when I was a little bit behind, yes, but I did it. That's what I'm proud of. But unfortunately I didn't film any of my thoughts or any of the books. I filmed some b-roll and that's about it, because I was doing live streams and stuff. I just didn't really think to film my thoughts. What I did was, as I was reading it, I did write down some of my thoughts on a piece of paper, and I'm going to talk you through my thoughts. I'm going to put it in and out throughout the clips of the b-roll that I did. So is this a reading vlog? Not really. It's more probably of a sit down video, but it'll be fun to add a bit of b-roll in. I suppose it will make it a little bit different. So I hope you still enjoy this video. Sorry for the mess, but I hope you still enjoy. It's time to finally start the Assassin's Blade. As you can see here, I wrote some notes because I have got to read this pretty much today. I have got to at least read page 204 today, but I would like to finish it as I don't think I'm going to have time tomorrow, and tomorrow will be my last day of reading it. So that is my plan for today, is just reading. Although I do have some editing to do, but it's a lovely day today and I thought I would come and read in van, and so this is my book of choice. Okay, so I'm still on the first story of the Assassin's Blade and I'm on chapter 9, so I've almost finished the first story because the first story has 10 chapters and then it moves on to the second short story, and so I'm on page 62. I feel like it's a bit slow and I do feel like maybe I should have read this for me personally, but I just felt like I had too many reviews saying you feel more of a connection if you read it like this, so I'm not sure, but I am still going to continue reading it because I'm still enjoying it. I am finding it a little bit hard to understand the storyline, but again I think that's just because it's short stories, but I might just do a bit of research, look at some reviews and stuff if I struggle too much longer. I also feel like I'm reading this really slowly, but I don't know what it is. If I'm being honest, I feel like I'm reading slowly, maybe because I read A Court of Silver Flames last night and I'm burnt out with fantasy, but I do feel like it's going to get better. I can feel those vibes, so I am going to keep reading. But I've been out here for a little while now. I don't even know what time it is. I've been out here for about almost 2 hours now and I'm having a great time, even though my anxiety is so high right now because there's people, which isn't surprising because I'm outside, but still. But either way, I'm having a good time reading outside. I do like reading outside. Well, what should I say, in the vans, But yeah, it's a lovely weather today and I'm having a great time. The first book is obviously The Assassin's Blade. I did decide to read this book first. This is the one that people debate, do you read it first, third, fourth, I think, and I never really know. And that's the one reason why it took me forever to actually start this series, because I was like, how do I start? Because there's so many different ways and so many different reasons for why, and whenever I asked I always got different opinions, so it was very difficult to decide. I did decide to start with The Assassin's Blade as I got the box set and it did come like that. Also at the time I saw a lot of people starting with the Assassin's Blade and explaining why they start with the Assassin's Blade, and there's this thing that someone's made of if you want to read it the romantic way, read it a certain way. If you want to read it the political way, read it that way, kind of thing. And I wanted to start off with the Assassin's Blade, so I started off with the Assassin's Blade and I did rate this book 4 stars because I feel like I have mixed opinions on this. I feel like I felt not connected to the characters because I started off with this one and it didn't really make sense in a way. But then, I'm going to say with Throne of Glass, I feel like I felt more connected to the characters in the second book because I started off with this book. So I have mixed opinions of my own opinions, but I do feel like if I had read the last book, I think third or fourth, I'm not sure what order it's supposed to be in, but I think it could be either way. I do feel like I may have felt more connected to the characters in this book, and I feel like it might have made a little bit more sense because obviously this book is loads of short stories. So I feel like it would have made a little bit more sense to me if I had read it first. But this series has been on my TBR for way too long, or should I say had, because I've read it now, and like for months. I'm so glad that I picked it up. Obviously it was for the fact of I didn't know what book to start off with because there were so many different opinions, but also because I was still in the middle of the Avatar series. But I'm glad I picked it up. As usual, Sergio Mass's writing is phenomenal, and I really enjoyed the short stories. But not, even though I did find them confusing, I felt like they were written so well, obviously because it's Sergio Mass, and I couldn't put it down because stories were intriguing. Yes, I was a bit confused, they were intriguing. But with starting this book definitely made me intrigued and want to continue with the series. I feel like maybe it was a good start to the series, even though, like I said, I have mixed opinions about my own opinions. But also, this whole book in general, but if you've read it, you know, ripped out my heart. It's definitely a heartbreaking book, and if you know, you know. Then I obviously read Throne of Glass, which is the main book. Some people read this first, and I did rate this 4.5 stars. I definitely did enjoy this one, a bit better than the first one, but again, only because I did feel more connected to the characters. And obviously this is the first book to the main story, and this is where you actually generally start to learn about the characters, learn about the world, and it starts to like build up the story, which I did find really interesting. This book is definitely also a roller coaster of emotions. You'll be feeling all the emotions, and I can definitely say that this book left me speechless because there was some things I just definitely did not expect, didn't think would happen, and I feel like that's what made it more interesting for me. I obviously love the characters, I love the plot, I love the writing. Honestly, I loved everything about this book, and I feel like because of the writing style, because of Sergio Mas, I feel like if it wasn't for the type of writing, if it wasn't for the characters she created, the plot she created, I would have liked this book. It would not have been good if it wasn't Sergio Mas writing it. I just feel like it was done so well. And also, I love the competition part of this book, without saying too much, because obviously this is spoiler free. If you know, nah, I like saying that, don't I? It was Crown of Midnight. This book I actually rated 4.25 stars, but I am between 4.25 or 4.5 stars. Like, still, I can't decide. Now that I think about it more, it's probably more a 4.5 star, because to be honest, I did enjoy it as much as the other books, but I feel like with the other books there's like that happens, but I'll get to that. So with Crown of Midnight, I flew through the ending. It did take me a little bit to like get through the beginning, not because it was bad, I don't know what it was. It just took me a little while, but I'm gonna say probably like halfway through I flew through it and I just couldn't put it down, and I'm actually speechless. I have no words to explain how good this book is halfway through. Like I said, it takes a little bit, but it's so worth it once you get halfway through towards the ending. But talking about the ending, I would say I've found it a bit predictable, but not in a bad way. I think it's just because, to be honest, I got ruined because of book talk. That you get a lot of spoilers through book talk, which is disappointing. Now, the thing that I think I saw didn't give context, gave a hint. It's just kind of ruins it and makes it predictable. So I feel like if I hadn't seen that, maybe it wouldn't have been predictable. I obviously can't say that because I did see what I saw on book talk. I feel like it wouldn't have been predictable though. I still really enjoyed the ending because obviously I didn't get spoiled 100%. I just got like a hint of what it was. Yeah, it was predictable, but it didn't ruin my enjoyment. Then it was Heir of Fire. This one I rated 4.5 stars. I could definitely say from this book, I could tell the series was just getting better and better and would only get better, because I don't know what it was. I just felt like something changed within this book in a good way. I don't know what it was. It was like the tone of it. I feel like because at this point we're like quite like deep into the story. It was a good book and it made me realize that it was just going to get better on from here. Now, it did have kind of like Crown of Midnight, it did have a slow beginning, then the ending was amazing, and I still think about it because of how amazing it was and I wasn't expecting it. What I realized with this series, I don't know if it's just me, but the beginning is always slow, then the ending is just amazing, unforgettable, and it happens quite quickly. And to be honest, I do kind of like that pacing. When I say it was slow at the beginning, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I do feel like it's good that it is slow at the beginning, then it kind of like gives you everything near the end, or halfway through slows down a bit, and then everything happens near the end of each book. Also in this one, we also meet some new characters, which I really love. The new characters, sometimes in books or in series when new characters are introduced, it might not go well, you might not like them. That's happened to me before, where I'm like, okay, I feel like this wasn't needed, this character wasn't needed, or it just kind of ruins it. I kind of liked it with the original characters, but with this one I felt like it worked really well, which is surprising because normally I don't like new characters when you're already kind of like many books in. Then we have Queen of Shadows, and this book I also rated 4.5 star. You can kind of see the average rating that I rated this book. Obviously it's still good, and I'll tell you why none of them, I've just kind of ruined it, but I'll tell you why none of them is a 5 star at the end. But this one was a 4.5 star for me. I love the relationships in this book. They were written so beautifully, and I don't just mean like relationships, I also mean like friendships, just any kind of relationship within these books. It was just so done so well, and the characters again are amazing, and I just feel like the character development between the books as well just keeps getting better and better, and again with the new characters as well, amazing. And also I feel like one of the reasons why the series is getting better is, yes, you get more action, you get more story, you get more plot, but also I feel like I said, the character development, the characters are just making it so much better, and they are getting better throughout the series. Okay, then we have the tandem read. Now these books I'm going to talk about separately, because you can read them separately or you can tandem read them. Me personally, I obviously did the tandem read. I just feel like that is better, as I feel like if you was to read them separately, you would get bored with Tower of Dawn, which I'll get more into when I talk about Tower of Dawn. So with Empire of Storms, I did rate this one 4.5 stars. I obviously loved this book, but I did find it a bit slower paced throughout the book than the other books. Again, not a bad thing, but even like with the ending, I just feel like it didn't rush near the end. It wasn't the same pacing, which like I said isn't a bad thing. It was different, which I suppose is nice, but I did like the pacing of the other books, so I feel like that might have been something that like threw me off a little bit because I wasn't expecting it. I would say it's not a bad thing as well, because like I said, it was a little bit of a nice thing to have a different kind of pace between the books, like between in the middle of the series, because with the other books there is like loads of action and loads of things happening, so I do feel like this one being a slower paced book is a good thing. Then we move on to Tower of Dawn, and I rated this one 4 stars because the first few hundred pages, I'll probably say like 300-400 pages I think, were hard to get through, and that is why I say that if you read these books separately and you don't do the tandem read, you will give up with Tower of Dawn quite quickly. This one doesn't really have much action, it doesn't really have much happening, and there's a reason for it, but I could definitely say you most likely would give up on it, or you'd be bored, it might take you a while, or you choose to DNF and it will just put you off on the series. Yes, you'll need the end, but the other book's like almost 1,000 pages, so it would be easy to kind of put you off the series. So I would say it's better to do the tandem read personally. Like with this one, I know for a fact if I didn't do the tandem read and I just read Tower of Dawn, I would have got bored so quickly. I probably would have been put in a reading slump. I probably would have gave up, I'm not going to lie, because it is really slow, not much happens. It isn't really an exciting one, but I do think it is still important to the story. It's not like it's just a pointless book. It is needed, but I just feel like it's written slower. But that is why it's good with the tandem read, because you get Empire of Storms, a few chapters of that with like the action, a bit more happening, but then you get Tower of Dawn, which is kind of like something happening in another place without saying too much. Yeah, I definitely feel like I would have really struggled without the tandem read. I feel like it's good that there has been a tandem read made for this book, but I could definitely say the other half, like the rest of the book, so not the first 300 or 400 pages, the rest of it was okay. It was okay to get through, and I feel like it did get a little bit better. And then finally we have the final book, which is Kingdom of Ash. This is the almost 1,000-page book, but this one I rated 4.75 stars. Now the reason why none of these were a 5-star read was because I was thinking of Aquarius and Fury, which is the second book in the ACOTAR series, and if I compare that book to these books, nowhere near. Kingdom of Ash is really close, but not a 5-star. Is that fair? Not really, because it is a completely different series, but 5-star reads for me, I'm like very strict on. So I would say this is a 5-star series in general. Like, this series is a 5-star series, just not any of them 5-star separately, if that makes sense. So yeah, 4.75 stars for Kingdom of Ash. I was really surprised at the way the series was wrapped up, to a point where I put, wow, what a wrap up for the series. It was an amazing conclusion. I felt like it just ended so well, and everything was explained. Everything wrapped up nicely. You wasn't left with like cliffhanger or like thinking what's gonna happen next. It wrapped up nicely. I feel like everything was done perfectly, and obviously it's almost 1,000 pages, so I felt all the emotions because loads of different things was happening. Obviously it's a big book because it has to wrap up loads of things, because obviously throughout the series loads of different things happen, and it has to be explained and wrapped up nicely because it's kind of like a mystery. Well, it's fancy, but you know what I mean, like a big plot, because they're large books and you get 8 of them. And I just loved everything about this book, or the series in general really, because the friendship, the battles, especially in this book, and there were so many twists and turns to a point where you just didn't expect it and you couldn't guess them. That's how surprised I was. But would I recommend this series in general? Yes, because like I said, generally a 5-star series for me. I had a fun time reading this. Now, what I do wish I did, and I kind of regret, because maybe I would have rated one of these books 5 stars otherwise, was I read fantasy books, and this kind of fantasy book, while I was in a reading slump. I am in a reading slump. While I'm in a reading slump, which is a bad idea, I do feel like I would have enjoyed them a little bit more if I wasn't in a reading slump. I do feel like I may have not done it justice because of me being in a reading slump, but I can safely say that I will definitely reread these in the future, so I'm not too worried about that. And it's not like I gave them any bad ratings. I feel like they're good ratings. So my favourite book of the series was Kingdom of Ash, and my least favourite was Tower of Dawn, but obviously I still love them all. So that is the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.